Alaska's border with our neighbor to the west, it's pretty distinct, more or less a straight line up and down.
But get to southeast and of course it's a bit of a different story. Have you ever wondered why it's not part of, say, Canada? Well, our neighbors certainly would have liked it that way. So what happened? Back on the couch this Monday morning for some story time with Aunt Phil, author Laurel Downing Bill. Good morning.
Good morning, kids.
So why this topic this Monday morning when it comes to our border?
Well, recently a tourist asked me, why doesn't Canada own Southeast Alaska? Well, Canada, of course, wanted to have that part of the country, but one U.S. president made sure it belonged to the United States instead.
So back in the day, our border a little unclear.
Yeah, when Russia transferred Alaska to the United States, there was no official border at that time, and that created problems from the get-go.
And then we'll call it a golden discovery, eventually puts a little pep in our step. Now it becomes a cause for concern, those borders.
Yeah, the Klondike Gold Rush of 1890s caused the border issue to really heat up. You had thousands of miners coming into Skagway, climbing the Chilkoot Trail and crossing over into Canada. And so the border had to be established. They really needed to know where that border lied.
How did Canada respond?
Well, gosh, they sent Northwest Mounted Police into Alaska and told them to raise the flag at the Lynn Canal, which they did, and that didn't go over very well with the American troops stationed at Daya, who met them with guns and said, you take down that flag or we're going to shoot it down. So
oh my gosh.
The Canadians did retreat, and they established posts at the top of the Chilkoot Trail and the White Pass Trail. And so they were armed with Gatling guns, too, those posts were. And that border then was kind of grudgingly accepted from both sides.
I can't even imagine just popping a flag in, saying it's yours, somebody else saying it's not having Google to go and look and see where the actual border is, and just potentially fighting it out. But luckily, it doesn't really get down to that. But how does Southeast then officially become ours?
Well, they decided to create the border. They had a tribunal where the Great Britain and the United States met to establish what the border would be, and U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt said that he wanted the border at a certain place, and if the Canadians didn't agree, that they would actually send in the U.S. Marines. Well, Canada thought that the Great Britain would side with them as to where that border should be. But it turns out Great Britain needed the United States more than it needed Canada. And so after 3 weeks of negotiations, they said, okay, we're going to side with the Americans, and that's why we have the border where it is today.
What I got out of that was British needing us once again. How about that? But
yeah.
So then we finally have that border. And then next Monday, now that history lesson is over, you're going to be at the fair. It's already almost fair time.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, it snuck up on us so fast.
So you'll be there for a couple of weeks, and then so next Monday we're going to talk about the history of the state fair.
Yes.
Is that what's on tap?
Yes, that's what's on tap. You know, we wouldn't have the state fair, maybe, if it wasn't for the colonists who arrived to settle the valley and start growing those wonderful vegetables that we see at the state fair every year. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week.